So I'm here, I'm Lebanese. I'm a Lebanese researcher, and I'm working at Geomar in Kiel. As you've said, this is just to show and to reflect that actually what we are dealing with, what we are studying is something global, it's international, and we need all to be involved in. So I'm gonna talk about ocean acidification and why is it really important to study this phenomenon to better implement the blue economy. So first of all, I'm going to talk about climate change. So I will not so much dig into that because many speakers have already tackled climate change in general and have correlated it with the human activities, as it was mentioned clearly in the IPCC reports in general. So our activities are the main causes of the ongoing climate change and its consequences, mainly industrial activities and activities related to plant powers, etc. And one of the main gases actually that we are emitting and is causing huge problems in the atmosphere, but also in the oceans, is the CO2 that's coming mainly from fossil fuel burning and other industrial processes, but also because of the land changes, terrestrial land changes as well. So if we're gonna compare a little bit the paleontological concentrations of CO2 in the atmosphere with regard to the current ones, we can see clearly that the current CO2 concentrations in the atmosphere are unprecedented, and they are super enormous compared to other millions of years before, and that's why it is really urgent to act, because otherwise we are all somehow doomed. So how do we know that? Today's rate of increase is more than 100 times faster than the increase previously when the last ice age ended, and it's continuing. So there are actually many atmospheric monitoring stations to monitor the different greenhouse gases around the globe. One of the famous ones is in the US, in the Mauna Loa in Hawaii. And there it's clear how the trend is increasing. And unfortunately, the latest number is 420 ppm in February 2023, as we are talking. And comparing that to 280 ppm during the pre-industrial time, that's a huge increase. So this increase actually is causing so much warming, as we all know, warming in the atmosphere, but also in the sea, in the sea surface temperature. This is actually increasing the CO2 concentrations also in the ocean, because the ocean is functioning as the lungs of our planet in general. So not only the forest, but also the ocean. And this lung is taking more and more CO2 in it. And because of that, and after the absorption of the excessive CO2, there are many chemical reactions that are happening in the ocean. And because of that, the chemistry of the ocean is changing and the pH is decreasing, which is called ocean acidification. This is not only observed in one station, but in many areas around the world. So this is something global. Okay, and so that's the ocean acidification. So why we are interested in that? So in general, our marine ecosystems and the different marine ecosystems are facing direct anthropogenic pressures, climate change related consequences, and this has actually many consequences and effects on marine biology. So first, we know the basic direct anthropogenic pressures like terrestrial runoff, nutrients input and pollution, but also the emission of CO2 that are causing many climate change related consequences like deoxygenation, warming, the change of the circulation patterns, the sea level rise that many speakers, many colleagues have already mentioned as well. And this is causing huge effects on modifications in the trophic relationships, impacts on biodiversity and nursery effects, etc. So ocean acidification specifically, because it's increasing the hydrogen ions in the sea, and this is causing huge damages on many marine groups that are actually relying on the presence of carbonate ions in order to build their shells and skeletons. Like, for example, foraminifera, like the mussels we eat, etc. And these are called like key species that are very important to build and to complement the marine trophic chain. So, and the projections are not really good, because it's expected that we will have acidified water by an increase in the acidified water by 70% by the mid-century, so in 2050, and 130% by the end of the century. This is a huge. It's a huge, and it has many repercussions actually on our resources. Like, for example, in the Mediterranean, we are already seeing coral bleaching and other effects. So why is that important for a country like Pakistan? So Pakistan is an important maritime state. It has a huge economic exclusive economic zone, and its maritime sector is very important for the national economy of the country. And it has, as my colleague Josh also has mentioned, that it has huge mangrove forests, which could actually help so much in the strategies of not only adaptation, but also mitigation of different climate change consequences. And observing ocean acidification is thus key for such a country in order to better be prepared for ocean acidification repercussions and climate change consequences in general. So to maintain stability in the blue economy sector, whether it is in the aquaculture, in building infrastructure, etc., we have to know what do we have exactly. So the physical features, the chemical features, the biological features in the country, and we have to know what's happening. So what are the drivers of change? So when we know what are exactly the drivers of change, let's say, for example, the patterns of warming, the patterns of ocean acidification, sea level rise, pollution trends, etc., then we can actually determine better solution for short and long-term strategies. So we need ocean observations for ocean acidification monitoring, but also other climate change consequences. So ocean acidification is a global condition with local effects, and that's why we are part, in general, many researchers working on ocean acidification of the Global Ocean Acidification Observing Network. It's GOAON. You can be part of that. So we were very few countries in 2013, and now we are more than 105 countries with more than 900 scientists. And we so much encourage you, colleagues, to be part of that network. It's a global network. So because this is a global phenomenon that we need to team up actually in order to better understand it, but also to face it as well. So it is a global threat. We need to understand it and its drivers correctly. We need to identify its patterns, to collect sufficient data to develop actually early warning system, and to better develop local and global policies to fight it. So how we've done that in the Mediterranean, for example. So we were like part of many cruises in the Mediterranean where we were able to take samples and to analyze the seawater there in order to better understand. So that was like cruises established or conducted by different Mediterranean countries, because one country cannot actually understand what's happening alone. So we need like to team up the resources. And so we better understood what's happening in terms of sequestration of anthropogenic CO2, the variation of pH since pre-industrial era till now, etc. So I'm going to give a bit of example of Lebanon, what we've done in the National Center of Marine Sciences in Lebanon in this term, just like trying to be a little bit inspirational. So in Lebanon, we didn't know at all before 2012 what's happening in terms of climate change trends, patterns, biogeochemical patterns, ocean acidification. So we decided actually to choose time series stations there in the area and to sample these time series stations monthly. So it is a very small puzzle in the Mediterranean, but it's very important to close the gaps of knowledge and to better understand at long term what's happening. And so we were taking samples for different physicochemical parameters, like the basic ones, temperature, salinity, nitrate, nitrite, phosphate, biomass like chlorophyll A, phytoplankton, zooplankton, but we also added carbonate system parameters that are critical in order to understand ocean acidification, like total alkalinity, total dissolved inorganic carbon, pH, etc. And we were able, since 2012, to know the pattern of the different parameters, so how seasonally they are varying, to detrend actually these parameters in order to get the annual trends. So we were able to identify that the total alkalinity and total dissolved inorganic carbon are increasing in our area in Lebanon, in the Mediterranean, and that the pH, there is a clear and significant decreasing trend of pH acidification, in other words, in the Mediterranean, like in many areas around the Mediterranean Sea. And a decrease of calcite and aragonite calcium carbonate ions that are really very important for lots of marine groups. So, but as a country, we are not able to do that and to understand alone. We need actually to complement this puzzle with other countries as well and with other groups that are doing the same. So we can actually interpret our results in a better way, because it's local, but also it's global. So that's why in the Mediterranean, globally, in terms of GOAON, the Global Ocean Acidification Observing Network, we have many regional hubs. We are teaming up together. We are connecting together in order to better interpret and know what's happening and to identify the gaps in each hub, in each area, etc. The OA Med Hub is one of these regional hubs. So how to do that for example, an area like in the Indian Ocean? So we have, first of all, to agree on the importance of the area. So the importance, the economic importance. In Pakistan, we have lots of interest and potentials in terms of a blue economy. So that's something really very important that can unite the colleagues there. But also we know that this area is under multiple pressures. And that's how actually we were able to construct like a hub that's formed of 14 countries, more than 82 scientists. Even if some countries had some political issues, etc., we tried to overcome this because we need really to team up together. So we have Lebanon, France, Spain, Greece, Turkey, Italy, Egypt, Morocco, but also other countries. We are trying to fight the gender balance in science, but also the north-south gender. So we know who's doing what. We know actually how to identify ways of collaboration in terms of projects, cruises, etc., but also to identify labs for the certified reference materials, because that's needed to have more adequate and precise ocean acidification measurements. And we are doing like webinars together in order also to publish our results. So this Mediterranean hub is a UN voluntary commitment. So we are trying to comment and to communicate actually our results to policymakers. And that's how also we have done the first systematic review for the area. And this can be actually replicated wherever. So we were teaming up together and trying to use the resources of the IAEA, the International Atomic Agency, in order to collect data and studies related to ocean acidification, and to better understand the evolution of ocean acidification studies in the Mediterranean. But this can be done also in the Indian Ocean and other areas to know what is the type of studies that has been evolving in terms, in function of time. What are the countries that are the most productive in terms of ocean acidification and the least ones, so we can boost, we can check how to support the countries that are not able to really be involved in the ocean acidification research, and why exactly, and who's actually working also internationally in the Mediterranean Sea. So we know also, for example, what combinations and chemical combinations they are using. This is very critical because we wanted to know if the combinations used are really scientifically good or not. So to give recommendations, what are the biological groups that are the most studied, but also the least studied, in order to give recommendations. So in the next 10 years, during the UN Ocean Decade, what to study now, maybe to focus more on microbes, on foraminifera, etc. And so to check if the researchers are doing single stressor or multi-stressor experimentations, etc. So what I want to say here is that also we have a new hub in the area, so close to Pakistan. Pakistan is actually involved in that hub, Sarawak, it's called, South Asia Regional Hub on Ocean Acidification. So this hub has been emerged because the area, the South and Southeast Asia, is a hotspot for coastal biotopes. And many of the colleagues have already mentioned the huge amount of resources there from mangroves and other key ecosystems. So it is needed actually to work together and to team up together. And the blue economy sector is one of the main sectors that are emerging in that area actually. And so ocean acidification, unfortunately, is threatening these, let's say, the essential components of a blue sector and blue economy relying on marine resources in that area. And that's why it's really very important to start observing systematically this phenomenon in Pakistan and in the neighboring countries. So this is established, it's very new. It has a steering committee. It was an idea, and now it has a steering committee, as I've said. It has a clear objectives, and Pakistan is one of the countries. It has very few, just a couple of colleagues from Pakistan, but hopefully more and more will be joining together to team up with other colleagues from the area and to create like a platform of communication and collaboration between the different colleagues there, in order to better understand together the ocean acidification and its repercussions. So there are many ongoing activities that I don't think I have time to say it. But what I want to say is that climate change consequences know no boundaries. So we have to collaborate to save the future of our seas and resources. Regional hubs like the OAMED hub in the Mediterranean, but Sarawak also in the South and Southeast Asia, they are crucial to understand local ocean acidification trends and effects. Thus, we need to team up together. And time series monitoring is key, because through time series observations, we are able to really identify patterns and to differentiate between natural and non-natural variabilities, and to better assess if there are effects or not on marine ecosystems due to ocean acidification or other stressors. So we need to implement the existing UN Sustainable Development Goal 14.3, which is essential for protecting communities and livelihoods from the threat of changing sea to sustain the blue economy. This is really critical, and I would really recommend that you join GOA and its regional hubs and be part of our Ocean Acidification International communities. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, these are also my emails later on.